All right, guys, welcome to On the Block. Just me here, but we got Igor on the phone, and best time of the season. Raptors back in the playoffs, and for the first time in a long time, we can actually say the Raptors have the best player in the series. So with that, Igor, welcome back, and we're going to start off with round one. Raptors playing Orlando, the 2 and the 7 seeds, and that's kicking off today at 5. Igor, what are you looking for in this matchup?
Well, first and foremost, again, always good to be on. And this is the Raptors and the Magic. I was quite happy to see that we didn't end up, the Raptors ended up facing the Magic and not the Pistons because I think that would have been a much more difficult matchup with the whole storyline with Wayne Casey and the Pistons beat the Raptors in every game this year, if I recall correctly. The Orlando team, they've been on a good run. I don't think it'll be an easy series. I think the Raptors tend to make things difficult the majority of the time in the playoffs. You got to take care of Nikola Vucevic, and then Terrence Ross is a guy that can get hot. But all in all, the Raptors have a lot. I would say they have a lot more talent. They have a lot. Everybody seems healthy besides OG, who had that unfortunate emergency appendectomy. All in all, they should beat them. It was thinking, I did 6 games. I think that's probably going on like the longest it'll go. I don't think it'll go 7. Could it be a sweep? It could possibly be a sweep, but I think the Raptors have just too much in terms of if Kawhi's going, if Kyle's going, again, depending on what kind of Kyle we get in the playoffs, you know how that goes.
That's true.
Ibaka, with Gasol on the floor, they seem to have a great rating. They have all the pieces and all the opportunities to go have a deep run. So I'm taking the Raptors in 6, but I could see it being a 5-game series. It really just depends on how efficient they are, and they usually start slow in terms of the home playoff game. So you got to get a win today to get off to a good start, and then get some of that mojo working. So I'm taking the Raptors in 6, but I can see it going left.
Okay. I've been telling you guys and to the viewers, we're talking with Lamar and Igor, I think that Orlando is a tougher matchup than Detroit, at least, talent-wise. I think that they have a better team, a lot more scorers, and a lot better defensively. With Detroit, I just think that it was the Casey thing that the Raptors had a problem with. That being said, I think they went 0-3 against them. They played them the 3 times. And in those losses, either Kawhi or Kyle was out for those ones. So, but getting back to this series, I'm not worried about Terrence Ross. Some people are saying maybe Terrence Ross is going to go off. I don't see that. I was at the game, I believe it was 2 Mondays ago in Toronto, and Orlando spanked us. Now, the only reason I'm kind of wary about this matchup is because I think that Orlando matches up really well with us defensively. I like Jonathan Isaac. He's progressed more than I thought he would. I didn't think he was going to be anything at all. I thought he was going to be a bust. But he's just so big. He has like that Pascal Siakam body, maybe a little bit more muscle on him. And he matches up really well against Pascal as well. And then with Aaron Gordon, a guy that got the max, which we can laugh at, but he's another guy that matching up against Kawhi, he's just pretty much as strong as he is. Obviously not the same kind of basketball player, but he's not going to have a smaller guy on him. And then with Vucevic and Gasol, it's going to be an interesting matchup as well. Then when Ibaka comes in, spacing the floor, obviously we hope that Kyle is an advantage and an upgrade over DJ Augustin. Right, but we've seen that before with Kyle that might be a bit of a problem. And our depth, right? Like Van Vliet, I think is a big plus for us. Lynn's been a disaster, but then also we have Norm's been playing well. OG's missing, which is a loss. And I've not been OG's biggest fan in his second or third year now, second year. But like I said, what he brings defensively, just being able to guard different positions, that's something that Norm can do. Norm's probably the better offensive player and more consistent. But you want OG there just guarding bigger bodies. Now with Orlando, you might not really have that problem because they don't have great scorers. They have a bunch of guys that can maybe get 15 or 20, but going forward, they're going to need OG hopefully to come back just to match up. Who's your X factor in this series, Igor, for either team?
Well, taking a look at some of the stuff that you said, I think one of the things that's different in terms of the Raptors is that I think Kyle, for example, was always put in that situation where he was either the number 1 or number 2 option in terms of scoring. With Mar again over the last few years. And this year, I don't really see that. I think, you can look at him more as a number 3 because I think the Raptors' number 1 or number 2 options based on how the season has gone is definitely Kawhi and Pascal. Mm-hmm. So I think that takes a lot of pressure
He did nothing that game.
When he gets on it and he can shoot, it's a situation. The Raptors are a team that I think, in terms of three-point shooting, aren't the greatest. I mean, we have a couple of guys that can shoot it quite well, but I would say we're a three-point shooting team. And all in all, I mean, if the Magic can work that game, that's probably the best chance of winning the series. Now, I think Vucevic inside is going to get his points. I think they have to contain him. I mean, if he goes off for 25, 10, or 30 and 10 every game, I think it's going to be a problem. So they're probably going to want to take him away as much as possible and make other guys beat him. I mean, I'm always going to find a DJ Hawkins team, but like I said, I think it's the Raptors.
You've been a fan. What does that mean? You've been a fan of DJ. What is that?
Well, I like his game in terms of like.
As a backup.
He's a backup. He's a consistent guy. I mean, he's a guy that can give you, what you're expecting out of him. I think, he's been a journeyman around the league for a little bit, but he's a guy that, again, come playoff time, and you can see that he might be able to lift his game a little bit. But again, like I said, I'm expecting the Raptors to win this series, and I think if they don't, it'd be a massive.
No, for sure.
Yeah. Again, Pascal and Terrence for me.
Yeah. Okay. And it's tough. Like, obviously, for me, I'm probably going to go with, for the Magic, I think that it might be Fournier. Even though he's a starter, I think that if he has a good series, I think that they have a good shot. Like I said, I don't think they're going to win, and I told you guys. Oh, anyways, answer the question with Fournier, and then with the Raptors, I'm probably going to have to go with Pascal, even though he's been probably their second best player of the season, and sometimes their best when those games, obviously, when Kawhi's been out. But I want to wrap this up because we have a lot of series to get to. I wanted to say, I think I took the Raptors in 5 when I told you guys. And the only reason I'm not saying sweep, and it could be a sweep, is because, like I said, I think that Orlando just has too much on the defensive side of the ball that's going to give the Raptors fits. Like I said, and I went back to that series with Cleveland and Indiana when Paul George was there last year. It was a 4-game sweep, but every game, I believe, was like a last-second shot or went down to the last possession or two. And I can see something like that. Sure, there might be some blowouts, but I do think that the games, for the most part, are going to be close. Let's move on.
Orlando's been playing pretty reasonably well.
No, they've been I think maybe the hottest or second hottest team in the last, I think, 4 weeks of the season. So that's what I'm saying. Like, they're catching a hot team as well. It's going to be a tough matchup, just like the Raptors are used to. Oh, but one last thing, literally one last thing. Raptors don't have DeMar, and obviously I love DeMar, but going from DeMar to Kawhi Leonard, a Finals MVP, that's the biggest reason why Raptors fans are not really fearful, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's literally the main reason why we have, again, the team has hopes that, again, the way that the brackets were played out, depending on the health of Embiid in Philadelphia, the Raptors got a pretty good path to the Eastern Conference Final. I mean, I don't think you could ask for much more.
No, you can't. That's the thing.
You're avoiding Milwaukee, you're avoiding Boston. You have a pretty good shot at, again, reaching the Eastern Conference Finals and even reaching the finals. So,
yeah.
I mean, this is their best shot. I mean, again, I'm still under the belief that Kawhi will leave this summer. So this is it.
Let's save that. Let's save that for the postseason, for when the season's done. Let's move on. I want to move on to the 2:30 game. We got Brooklyn and Philly. We got to try and go through these ones a little bit quicker. Now, Joel Embiid still listed as questionable. Either way, even if he does play, his knee's bothering him. Igor, I'm going to give you 1 minute on the clock. What do you think about this series?
Well, I mean, the health of Embiid is definitely a situation. I think it's something that they have to really monitor because, again, it's obviously been bothering him since the All-Star break. So, again, he's definitely their key player. Looking at it, stylistically, it's an interesting series because Brooklyn loves to shoot the three. And I would say that Philadelphia is an average three-point shooting team at best. I mean, I like JJ Redick, but I think Brooklyn relies a lot on the three ball, and that's the bread and butter. So it'll be an interesting series stylistically. I'm going to take Philly to win it in 5 because I think even if their team misses, they have enough to with Jimmy Butler and Ben and Tobias Harris. Again, they have enough to get by Brooklyn. Especially with the first 2 games being at home. So I'm taking them in 5. But all in all, I mean, if Brooklyn gets hot and D'Angelo Russell and another, who's the guy that got hurt?
Caris LeVert.
Like these type of guys, again, and a 3-point shooting contest winner, I'm forgetting his name at the moment.
Joe Harris.
Yeah, Joe Harris, again. I like Allen inside. And they have, again, some good talent.
Karooks, they have a lot of young pieces that can go get the either 10 or 15, right? That's the thing about them. They're very deep.
Yeah, if they get hot, they can really shoot you out of the gym. But all in all, even if Embiid isn't at 100%, I think Philly's too much. I'm taking Philly in 5.
Okay. Quickly for me, these teams, if you take Embiid out of out of the game, which he might be out for game one. These are pretty two evenly matched teams. Now, in terms of overall talent, yeah, Philly has more top-notch guys with Tobias, Butler, and also Simmons. But I honestly think, and Kenny Atkinson, I believe the coach for Brooklyn, he was talked about as, can this guy even coach going into this season? And I'm going to put myself on the map here. Early in the year, I told you guys, I've been saying it for a few years, look out for Brooklyn. I really like what they're doing. And they came out of nowhere, and they've done exactly that. Due to some, good drafting, some good trades getting D'Angelo in there. But like I was saying, without Embiid, I think that even if like I said, he's not playing, he's going to be not 100%. I really like Brooklyn in this series, and it's really unfortunate because obviously Embiid's probably my favorite player with Dwayne Wade out, but I just see Brooklyn game planning to allow Ben Simmons to do a lot and keep the ball in his hands, put a bigger guy on him. And if Ben Simmons is going to be exposed like he has been in the playoffs, like we saw last year, because he can't shoot, I like Butler. I think he's going to go off. He's going to get the chance to be their top guy now with Embiid out if he is. But Tobias Harris hasn't really fit in as well as people really thought. And maybe that's just because you have to share the ball with so many guys. JJ's got to do his thing, but there's zero depth on this team. They got who do they have coming off the bench? Mike Scott from the Clippers, and then also Bolden, the center that they have. I don't know. He's a backup center at best, but they have no depth. I'm going Brooklyn in 6. I think they're going to close it out at home, and that's going to be bad because Philly gave up that Miami Heat unprotected pick. I think it's in 2020, which is probably going to be a pretty good pick to get him, and another first, and that's a big loss there. But so I got Igor. You have Philly in how many games?
Well, I just Philly in 5, and you just called the upset in 6 now.
I gotta call one. I'm going with Brooklyn in 6. Let's move on. Let's move on to the last series here. We got the 4-5 matchup. Boston the 4 against Indy the 5. We got Marcus Smart out for at least this series, maybe more, and obviously Oladipo's out. Igor, you started off again.
Well, I think this would be a really interesting series, and a lot of people are giving Indiana a legitimate shot in the series. But I mean, without Oladipo, I just can't see it. The only thing that I can potentially see an upset is just again the Celtics have obviously had their problems all year in terms of camaraderie and playing as a unit. But I think come the playoffs, I think you'll see them try to put that into the background. And it's just too much talent to deal with in terms of, especially when you don't have Oladipo leading the lineup. Indiana played reasonably well. I think when Oladipo went down, they had a significant lead, so they weren't going to drop any. They had third, they ended up dropping a fifth. But all in all, especially considering people injured, I just can't see Boston losing to Indiana. I think it's too much talent on that Boston team to really drop a significant amount of games. Now, when they get to the next series, I think that'll be a bigger problem because obviously I believe the teams will get stronger. But I'm thinking Boston in 5. Again, that's the first 2 home games. I don't see them dropping the home game. And then again, they'll lose one in Indiana and then finish it off at the City Garden in 5.
I agree with you there. Indiana, I think they're the lowest scoring team, if not the lowest scoring. They're 25th in points. It shows that they're at 98. Anybody these days that can't break 100 points is not a good thing. I really like Sabonis. Miles Turner, sleeper for defensive player of the year, just doesn't really play enough minutes. But Miles Turner, they've been waiting for him to break out. Maybe this is the series he does. If he can stay out of foul trouble, that's going to be a big problem for Boston getting in the paint. But like you said, I just don't see enough with Indiana. They really grind out every possession. Bogdanovich has been really good for them. But like I said, I don't think Boston's going to lose a home game. Maybe if they were to get to the East Final, the first 2 rounds, I can't really see them losing a home game, even without Smart, who is a big loss for them. Obviously an underrated guy. He's an all-defensive first-team guy, if not first, second team. But I'm going to go with Boston in 5. Love to elaborate, but we're going to just move on to the next series because kind of pressed for time. Let's go to the Bucks in Detroit. There's not going to be much to say about this series, so I'm going to start off. Detroit snuck in. They were in 6th for a while. I believe maybe even halfway through the season, they were out of the playoffs after a hot start. This team doesn't have much depth at all. They traded Stanley Johnson, who would have been really nice in this series because a big athletic guy that can at least play a bit of defense. They don't have him. They got Thon Maker for him, who's been... Igor, I know you liked him when he was on the Bucks, but the guy's been pretty garbage, and he might be out of the league in a few years. Now, with Blake Griffin, who's been banged up, obviously their best player, Drummond, he's not even that good on defense. He's a good rebounder, and he'll get those alley-oops for you, kind of like DeAndre Jordan in his prime. But I just don't see this going longer than the necessary 4 games. What about you? You think Detroit pulls out a game?
I think the Bucks will win the series, but again, the way that the Pistons play, and again, seeing them how they played against the Raptors, for example. I like certain guys
He's been playing really well.
I actually think that this series will actually go longer than some of the other ones. That I still think the Bucks will win because, overall, if Middleton and Giannis are on their game, they're obviously tough to stop. Again, they're missing Brogdon. I don't know what the status is of Mirotic. So their depth is a little bit tested a little, but again, they have enough talent to win the series. But I'm gonna take the Bucks in 6 because I think this will be one of those series that.
That's almost an upset, saying Bucks in 6.
I think this will be like just like that Indiana series that you mentioned with Cleveland. I think a lot of these games will come down to being 3 to 5 point games because AJ, again, I give him a lot of credit on his coaching. Truthfully, I think it's a real shame that he didn't get a chance to coach with Kawhi because I think he would do a really good job with him. I think he'll be prepared and it'll be a real close series. And I have seen people actually taking Detroit to win the series. Now, I'm not that crazy.
Did we get a drug test on any of those people that said that?
It'll be pretty reasonable that I think that they'll make them work for it, and I think that it'll go 6 for the Bucks.
Yeah, so I just checked it out actually, and Mirotic is questionable for game 1. It said questionable and then hopeful, so he'll probably give it a go. But just going through the roster right now, Ilyasova is another guy that was on Philly last year. He was a big loss for not having him. He's going to bring it. Tim Frazier dropped 29 and 13 in their last game. These are guys that are not great, but guys that can plug in 10 or 12 minutes. Still have Tony Snell, another guy who's been in the playoffs. Seems like he's in the playoffs every year, even with Chicago back in the day. Bledsoe's had a big year. Sorry. Yeah, they got Bledsoe, who's had a good year. Brogdon, I'm pretty sure he's out for the first 2 rounds. But I just think, honestly, they set records for the most point differential, I believe. Them and the title Golden State team. This is a team, I know that they're hurt, and that's really the only thing. But I'm going to say that I really think this is going to be a sweep. We're going to move on to the West. We're going to start with Golden State and the Clippers. Clippers made it in. And I said that at the beginning of the year. They even traded Tobias Harris. They got better when they traded Tobias Harris. So they got Shamet. They got a few other guys. Seems like they rolled 10 deep. Zubac, thank you to the Lakers. Thank you, Rob Pelinka. Thank you, everybody there. I wish Lamar was here to go on with that. But
I was pretty vocal on that trade when it happened at the deadline. I didn't understand it whatsoever. I thought Zubac had been one of the Lakers' better young players at that point in time. He was a guy that was consistently getting double the time, and so much so that they started including him in those Anthony Davis discussions when all that hubbub come out. So that was a horrific trade.
But do you see the Clippers winning a game? I guess that's the question.
Yeah, it was just again, it was a disaster. In terms of the series, now I will give the Clippers a ton of credit because again, once they traded Tobias Harris, everybody thought that they were just going to tank the season, and Sacramento was going to get the last playoff spot of the Lakers. But all in all, it's a Warriors-like team, and it's one of those teams where I can see because of obviously the Golden State the last couple of years. I think they'll get a ton of fanfare in this series because it's one of those
feel good stories.
Guys that was a bunch of guys coming together, playing hard. I'm a big fan of Lou Williams. I've always been a big fan of Lou. Ever since he got drafted, or watching him in the McDonald's the high school game, and then we came to Philly. I always thought he had a huge amount of potential. I really liked him as a Raptors too. They have again a good workman-like team that works hard for each other. Will they beat the Warriors that have all this talent? I don't think they will. Do I think it'll be a sweep? I don't think it'll be a sweep. I think they'll work hard enough on at least one of those games, or they'll drag it to 5. But obviously there is a huge talent disparity. But all in all, it's great that they even made the playoffs. They're going to lose their first round pick, unfortunately, because of it. But if Doc Rivers has them humming, which is great. And all in all, like I said, would it be the biggest upset in probably the history of the NBA? Considering what the Warriors have at starting 5? Probably. But all in all, even if they get to 5, I think that'd be a win for them.
For sure.
They can avoid the sweep. But we'll see. Like I said, the Warriors are going to, again, season, project for the second half of the season. They have all the pressure on them. I still think they're the best team in the league by far. But we'll see. I might feel pulling for the Clippers a little bit just because of the workman-like approach they have going.
And how many games you got Golden State?
I have it in 5.
Okay. Quickly, I'm going to run through the Clippers lineup. So we've got Beverly, Gallinari, Zubac, Shatnick, Gilgeous-Alexander, Jermichael Green, Lou Williams, Garrett Temple, Montrezl Harrell, Wilson Chandler, Tyrone Wallace, Jerome Robinson, who was a lottery pick. All 12 of those guys played in their 143-137 win over the Jazz in the last game of the season. Igor, I think this is the deepest team in the NBA, and I don't even think it's close. We saw this with the Raptors last year when they rolled 12 deep. The Clippers, that's their biggest advantage. And in the playoffs, I know that people say that you're going to shorten your bench, but I really see the Clippers still even rolling out 9 or 10 guys in this series because you know what they get at you defensively as well. Wilson Chandler's been there. Garrett Temple's another big, long guy that can defend. Shamnick's been one of the best three-point shooters. Zubac obviously can, 22 and 11 in his last game. Gallinari's been pretty much healthy. And I want to see Pat Beverly get at Steph Curry. That's going to be an interesting matchup for me. I'd love to go on, right? That's going to be a good one because you know how he's going to go hard at this. He's in the playoffs. He's been in the playoffs in a few years, right?
Well, again, like it's a simple scenario for the Warriors. The only real way you're going to beat the Warriors is if they realistically, all three of them, and I'm talking about Clay,
Durant and Curry.
have horrible shooting games. I mean, those are really usually if two or three of those guys, two out of three of those guys are on, it's going to be an L. Draymond probably has the worst season of his career in my opinion this year. Shooting over, so he's kind of like he used to be like a team that again would be fearful because of that. I don't think Draymond's much of an asset at this point.
Well, defensively he is. That's the thing. That's all they're going to do from defensively. Yeah.
Leave him open for shots.
And that's fine. And they also have DeMarcus Cousins too, right? But like I said, we got to move on because we have about 5 minutes to get through the next 3 series. I'm going to go Golden State in 5. Would I be surprised if this somehow even went 7? To be honest, I wouldn't. But I'm going to go Golden State in 5 because I think that's kind of logical. Denver, San Antonio, Igor, literally 30 seconds. Go at this and give me your quick prediction, please.
So Denver, San Antonio, I have Denver in 6. I think everyone will find out in San Antonio that Lamar is what he is, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
And I think again, Denver has the advantage with the home court advantage.
Yeah.
I think Denver, they have again a lot of guys coming. I'm a big fan of Murray, what he's doing, as well as Jokic, the big man. So I'm taking them in 6.
Okay. I also have Denver. Denver was, season preview, I said Denver's going to finish second. They ended up finishing second. I nailed that one. San Antonio, I really like what they did. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs. They did sneak in at 7. I don't think DeMar's going to struggle this playoffs because San Antonio has a lot of guys that he doesn't have to just carry the burden for them. So I don't think DeMar will be an issue. I just think that it's talent and Denver's the better team. A lot of people picking Denver to lose this or maybe win this and then get ousted in the next round. I still like what Denver's done. Gary Harris been hurt, hasn't looked the same since he came back. They have some injuries, but they're another team that's so deep that I just think that they have what it takes, the home court advantage as well. I'm going to go Denver in 5. I might have had them in 6 when we made the online predictions. Portland, OKC. We got to get through this one very quick as well. Igor, knock it off.
All right, so this one is probably the only one that I'm calling the upset based on the seedings. I'm taking OKC in 6. I like what Russ is doing, and he's deferring more to Paul George. I think Nurkic is a big loss for the Trailblazers. We tend to usually have really fast playoff series with that core. I don't think that'll change. I'm taking OKC in 6. So again, I'm hoping for the best of Dame Lillard and McCollum.
Okay, yeah, I gotta agree with you, man. And I think that, to be honest, Portland's really the Raptors, the old Raptors of the West, whereas like every year there's either an upset or they just struggle to get through. I don't think they've won a playoff series since, I think it was that year when the Clippers, their whole team got hurt with Blake and Chris Paul. That's not even a win for me. I have OKC. They've really struggled. I like them a lot to start the season. Paul George has taken off. But this is a really good matchup and path. Just like you were talking about the Raptors, an easy path to get to the East. OKC beats Portland, which I think is going to happen. I'll go 6 games. That's fine. OKC in 6. They're next going to get Denver, I think, and that's another winnable matchup for them to set up a West Finals against Golden State, which is going to be Westbrook against Durant, which would be some great TV. The Nurkic loss really, throws a big issue there for Portland because, without him, I've always said him and JV were 2 of my, favorite, grinder kind of centers. He's come really along defensively, and that's going to be a problem for them without that rim protection. I'm going to go OKC in 6. And some questions for Portland going into the offseason, maybe a possible trade. Lastly, Houston, Utah, another interesting series. Who do you got there?
So this is actually the only series that I see going the distance. So I'm taking Houston in 7.
I like that.
James Harden's been the MVP. The issue really with them is that it will, again, Chris Paul remain healthy throughout the playoffs. Obviously, again, Utah started coming along to the second half of the year. And again, it's always a team that makes it hard on the opponents and grinds it along with Mitchell, Gobert, and Ingles, and a lot of their
I did pick Utah when we did our predictions online, but now I'm looking back at it. I picked Utah because I want them to win, but I might have to change it to Houston in 7. This is another one of those series where it is really a coin flip. This one and then the other one, which was the other one that I was pretty unsure of.
That'll set up a good TV because that'll be the Warriors and then the Rockets in round 2.
That would be great, yeah, in round 2. Now, Chris Paul obviously has to stay healthy. I just think Houston has too much offensively, and nobody can stop Harden. And Utah really, like, their scorers, they don't have enough guys. I know it's playoffs and everything, but even Gobert, is he going to get played off the floor a little bit if Houston chooses to go small? A lot of questions with that, but, I'm going to go Houston in 7 as well.
That was another thing is if James Harden's going to be the guy that we saw during the regular season and in the playoffs. I mean, he's had quite a few meltdowns in a lot of these games.
Well, there was that Spurs game that was almost like it was a Space Jam incident where they stole his talent. There was a lot of problems with that, right? I had some theories what they put in his Gatorade before the game, but unfortunately we have to wrap it up. That was a quick, probably 30 minutes on those series. We're gonna get together, we're gonna have Igor in studio the next episode and probably go through after the 2 games are played. Enjoy the playoffs, guys, and we'll speak with you next week. Until next, Igor.
Take care.
We'll see you guys.